Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you guys are doing well. All right, so everyone was so bearish last night regarding Powell's surprise rate cut. I'm sorry, surprise rate hike. I mean, there was some, pretty lavish stories and thesis going into today that I read on social media about rate hikes and not rate pause. So the big story of the day, of course, is Powell is dovish, and the FOMC continues to be somewhat, on neutral and dovish ground, continuing to signal three rate cuts for this year. Most likely, the Fed or the Fed swaps is is pricing a rate cut probably in June. They're going to skip a meeting in April. May is going to be the next meeting, and then June, and probably they're looking at June, July rate cuts to start with at 25 basis points. And that's what's going to get the market excited, right? I mean, the FOMC, Powell said that he doesn't always. I'm paraphrasing, of course. He's not looking at the last 2 months of data as far as the CPI and PPI goes as something that's going to deter them from doing the rate cuts. However, they're important data, but he said that they're not as important because, I mean, guess what? I mean, it's 1 or 2 month off a little bit of hikes. Everybody understands that, but they're still on a projection towards, under 3.0 headline CPI. And of course, PCE, as you guys saw last month or this month, came in pretty soft. So that's the news story of the day, which is great for the markets. And our projection of 5,200 SPX, yeah, it took a while. That's been our ultimate goal or ultimate target for the last 2.5, 3 weeks, or even a month now. But as you could tell, for the last, several, like a week or two, we've been just kind of ping pong between different ranges. And even with a hotter CPI, even with a hotter than expected PPI, you could tell based on the price action, we just kind of stayed between 50.50 to 51.50 and just kind of ping pong around 5-10 points. And that's been a story for the last several weeks. Just you can see this just cluster of, it kind of somewhat radical price action. However, today is a breakout. All right. So it took Powell to break this out. So, of course, we started on Friday at the 20 moving average. As you know, we gapped up on Monday. We went up on Tuesday, and we're back up here at 520. Market hit the highs of 520.62 at the highs. SPX, that's 52.26, and I think they're about done for the day in terms of the pump goes. So we are well above the trend line. Volume is a little bit concerning still. Here, the last 13 minutes of the bell, we're not seeing a significant volume, and that's okay too. It doesn't always have to be huge volume to come in. Of course, there's going to be plenty of opportunities to buy the dip. So here we go with the 30-minute chart that we discussed. The first thing on Saturday is that we talked about this particular 30-minute chart and the trend lines that's been showing up. So here we go. Why are we rejecting here at the 520 level? Well, this trend line here is going to be your culprit here. So this trend line here that started on March 1st, 2024 on a 30-minute chart, you run that line across, and we banged it here on March 14th. All right, rejected and came all the way back down. Okay, gapped up on Monday and falling channel. All right, on Tuesday, and boom. All right, broke out on Tuesday morning for us right down to the 510 area as we suspected. In addition to that, we said, okay, well, Wednesday, we're just going to consolidate a little bit before the Powell, and our upside target was 520, and that hit perfectly as well. And so now you got this particular trend line to deal with. So I remind you on the 30-minute chart, guys, that when the EMAs are diverging too fast or too quickly, like here and also here, all right, as you could tell, there's going to be pullbacks and sloppy action. Now, I can see a scenario tomorrow that maybe you get a little bit of gap up in the morning, or they retest the highs at, maybe go a little bit higher at 521. But this is not a level where you want to go long calls in, right? Unless you're playing AMD or maybe you're playing NVIDIA, et cetera, but not here on the Qs or the SPY. Now, the Q has not hit a new all-time high, 438. And what happens is that if SPY hits an all-time high, generally the Q will follow. So if tech does follow tomorrow, and lift up the Q to 448 level, that's the all-time high level, then I could see a case where SPY may follow as well. But it may take a couple days. You see NVIDIA here in the last few minutes of the day, it can't break 900, right? It's just getting stuck right at the 902, 903 level. AMD is still red today. Micron still, MU is doing pretty good. IWM is pretty good. Mara did pretty good today. But you can see this major pullback that's happening here as we close the day. We need these 30-minute 1050 EMAs to start consolidating here and start catching up to the price before we can pick up long calls. So what's my projection for the next couple of days, maybe into Friday? It's a little hard to say right now. We definitely need the stochastics to reset. The 4 hour stochastic here is obviously very, very high, and that eventually will get a reset. And when that happens, then, all right, there's opportunity. Until then, next couple of days, it's hard to go buy monthly calls out, all right, or monthly calls or monthly options. But here's what I'm looking at so far tomorrow, all right? So if we do the famous Troy's 50% dip, all right, 50% dip would take us to 518. So 518 would be an area to watch tomorrow, right above at this level here. If the market does not break this trend line, you could get a false breakout in the morning, and they fail to break out and come back down to 518 or even 516. I know that sounds hard to believe, but typically the day after or 2 days after the Powell pump, the market gives back its gains because it's just way too heavy, right? And they have to reset some indicators, and there's going to be some profit taking and all that fun stuff. So watch for something like this tomorrow. You hit 518, they kind of gap it up, kind of retest 520, let's say. And then what we're looking for is a gradual pullback, like a very orderly 30-minute channel back down, just like this channel here. Maybe back down to 516 to retest this trend line. And from that point on, then I would be more comfortable going to retest this 520 and potentially breaking out if, let's say, the CPI next month is actually decent. All right. So that would be kind of like my projection. And maybe you do a little bit of cup and handle. All right. And then you start breaking out to the upside. So that would be my kind of flow for the next several days, or maybe a week or two. So we'll learn more about that. We'll learn more about it tomorrow morning. It's okay. No big deal. So far, that's kind of what I'm looking at over the next couple of days. For sure, your stochastics everywhere is too hot. Your 30-minute stochastic is too hot. Your 1 hour is too hot. Your 4 hours too hot. And don't get suckered into some bad bets tomorrow, because this does need to pull back. Now, as far as Powell's comments go, excuse me, as far as Powell's comments go, I mean, very, very dovish, very neutral. All right. He wasn't hawkish at all, to be quite honest. Still 3 rate cuts. The market's pretty excited about that. But, we're up here at 5,200. And guess what happens, right? Whenever, over the course of several weeks, we've hit 5,000, pull it back to 4,950, go to 50,50, go back to 5,000, go to 5,100, go back to 5,000, go 5,150, back to 50,50. You see this ping pong action, 5-10 point spreads, every single week or so, and that's probably likely to happen. And you can see that SPX is going to close at about 0.3% up, and closing at about 52.15 or above 5,200. So at least we got to see if they're going to pull back under 5,200 in the morning or some point during the day tomorrow. So that's kind of my projection for going into the rest of possibly this week. But again, this trend line would be an obvious, pretty good place to buy calls again. You can see, even though once we jumped up here, even though it came back down to test, it actually never broke this trend line, which is awesome, right? And then it just continued to go further, but you're getting stuck right here at the basically at the 520 level. So with that, guys, hope you guys have a great afternoon. Enjoy the sunshine, and we'll see you back in the morning Thursday.